summary and examples of what every body is saying by Joe Navarro. Introduction. Joe Navarro's book, What Every Body is Saying, explores the pervasive problem of people's inability to understand and utilize the silent language of nonverbal communication. This lack of awareness creates a significant barrier in human interactions, leading to misunderstandings, missed opportunities, and even injustices. Joe Navarro illustrates how most individuals are oblivious to the wealth of information conveyed through body language. They navigate through life looking but not seeing, much like the bewildered driver searching for street signs and Coral Gables. The problem stems from a lack of training and attention to the subtle cues constantly being transmitted through posture, gestures, facial expressions, and other nonverbal signals. This obliviousness to body language can manifest in several ways. Misinterpreting nonverbal cues. Many people fail to accurately interpret the meaning of nonverbal behaviors. They may mistake a pacifying behavior, such as lead cleansing, for a sign of dishonesty when it is merely an indication of stress. This can lead to false judgments and accusations, potentially damaging relationships and hindering effective communication. Ignoring the power of comfort and discomfort. People often overlook the crucial role comfort and discomfort displays play in understanding a person's true feelings. They might be swayed by someone's pleasant words while failing to notice their tense posture or other nonverbal signs of unease. This inability to discern genuine sentiment from fabricated expressions can have negative consequences, particularly in situations where detecting deception is crucial. Failing to establish baselines. Joe Navarro emphasized the importance of establishing baseline behaviors for individuals to accurately interpret their nonverbal signals. Without a clear understanding of a person's typical demeanor and mannerisms, it becomes difficult to identify deviations that suggest changes in thoughts, emotions, or intentions. This lack of personalized observation hinders the ability to detect subtle shifts in behavior that might signal deception or other significant changes. Oversimplifying deception detection. The book cautions against relying on isolated cues, like touching the nose or avoiding eye contact, to determine if someone is lying. These behaviors are not foolproof indicators of deception and can be misleading when taken out of context. People become highly adept at lying from an early age, and there is no single nonverbal behavior that definitively signals dishonesty. Oversimplifying deception detection can lead to false accusations and miscarriages of justice. By illuminating the importance of nonverbal communication and providing a framework for understanding its nuances, Navarro aims to bridge this silent language barrier. He encourages readers to develop their observational skills, become more attuned to the limbic system's influence on behavior, and recognize the complexity of deception detection. By mastering these skills, individuals can break down barriers, improve their relationships, and navigate the world with greater understanding and confidence. Chapter 1. Our Bodies, the Ultimate Truth Tellers. You won't believe what happened at work today, I exclaimed to my friend, Sarah. My coworker, Mark, was giving this presentation about a new project, and he was so nervous. He kept saying how confident he was, but his body was telling a completely different story. Sarah, always intrigued by the intricacies of human behavior, leaned in. What do you mean? What was he doing? Well, first off, he kept touching his neck, almost like he was trying to hide behind his collar, I explained, remembering a passage from Joe Navarro's book, What Every Body is Saying, which we'd both been reading. And his lips? They were practically non-existent. Pressed together so tightly, it was like he was trying to make them disappear. It was classic lip compression, a sure sign of discomfort according to the book. Sarah nodded, her eyes widening with understanding. Right. It's like those involuntary reactions are controlled by a totally different part of the brain, the one that doesn't lie. Exactly. The book calls it the limbic system, and it's constantly reacting to the world around us, triggering these physical responses that betray our true emotions, even if we're trying hard to mask them. I continued. Mark kept saying how excited he was about the project, but his legs were bouncing nervously under the table, and he kept fidgeting with his pen. His body was screaming discomfort. So, you're saying his nonverbal communication was more honest than his words? Sarah questioned, catching on quickly. Absolutely. I affirmed. It's like our bodies are these walking, talking billboards, broadcasting our true feelings even when our mouths are saying something completely different. I remembered another example from the book about a suspect who, while verbally denying any involvement in a crime, inadvertently gestured towards the location of the crime scene with his hand. His limbic system, unable to contain the truth, had betrayed him. Wow, that's fascinating, Sarah exclaimed. It makes you wonder how much we miss by only paying attention to what people say. I know, right? I agreed. And the crazy thing is, this nonverbal communication is happening all the time, everywhere. From the way someone crosses their legs during a meeting to the subtle tilt of their head when they're interested in what you're saying. We spent the rest of the evening discussing the different tells we'd observed in people, referencing examples from the book about happy feet, steepled hands, and the ever-reliable shoulder shrug. We talked about how understanding this silent language could help us navigate our relationships with greater awareness and insight. It's not about becoming a human lie detector, I pointed out, recalling Navarro's cautionary words. It's about becoming a better observer, learning to read the subtle cues our bodies give off so we can understand each other on a deeper level. As we parted ways, I couldn't help but smile, feeling a newfound appreciation for the eloquence of our silent truth-tellers. Examples of nonverbal cues potentially related to deception. It's important to remember that no single nonverbal behavior definitively proves deception. However, certain nonverbal actions, especially when clustered together or occurring in a specific context, can be suggestive of dishonesty. Here are 3 examples from the book that illustrate this. 1. Frozen hands. When a person is lying, their hands may become very restrained and still, compared to their usual animated movements during truthful conversations. This sudden restraint in hand movement could be a limbic system reaction to the stress of trying to maintain a lie. For example, someone who normally gestures a lot with their hands while talking might suddenly keep their hands clasped in their lap or tucked into their pockets when discussing a sensitive topic. 2. Asynchronous head movements. A liar's verbal and nonverbal communication may be out of sync, particularly with head movements. For instance, someone might deny an accusation verbally, "I didn't do it," while their head subtly nods yes. This mismatch between words and body language suggests internal conflict and a possible attempt to conceal the truth. It is important to note that a delayed or less emphatic head movement can also occur when someone is being truthful but is nervous or uncomfortable. 3. Lack of emphasis. Liars often lack genuine emphasis in their nonverbal behavior when making statements. They may speak in a flat tone, avoid eye contact, and refrain from using gestures to emphasize their points. This lack of emphasis can be a sign that their limbic system is not fully engaged in what they are saying, suggesting a lack of genuine belief or commitment to their words. For example, a person accused of wrongdoing might offer a weak denial without any accompanying gestures or changes in posture, indicating a possible attempt to distance themselves from their statement. Chapter 2. An FBI agent's look inside our honest brains. Remember that time you swore you were fine after that awful date, but you couldn't stop fidgeting? I asked my friend, recalling a memory sparked by the fascinating book we were both reading, What Every Body Is Saying, by former FBI agent Joe Navarro. My friend laughed. "Oh, please, don't remind me. I thought I was doing a decent job of hiding my utter boredom, but I guess my body had other plans." That's exactly what Navarro's book is all about, I explained. It's like we have these honest brains that are constantly reacting to the world, sending out signals through our body language, whether we want to or not. The book focuses on the power of the limbic system, that ancient part of our brain responsible for our survival instincts and emotions. It's the reason we instinctively jump back from a sudden noise or feel our heart race when we're nervous. And here's the fascinating part, the limbic system doesn't lie. It reacts instantly and authentically, bypassing our conscious attempts to control our expressions. So, even when I was trying to pretend I was having a good time on that date, my limbic system was sending out "get me out of here" signals through my fidgeting. My friend chuckled. Exactly, I said. And it's not just about big reactions. Even subtle things like a slight shift in posture, a fleeting micro-expression, or the way our pupils dilate can reveal volumes about our true feelings. We talked about how the book highlighted the importance of context in interpreting body language. A furrowed brow could mean concentration in one situation or annoyance in another. It's like learning a whole new language, my friend mused. A language of subtle gestures, postures, and expressions. We discussed how Navarro emphasized the need to establish a baseline for an individual's behavior to accurately decode their nonverbal cues. We need to understand someone's typical mannerisms before we can interpret deviations from that norm. So, if someone who's usually very animated suddenly becomes still and restrained, it might be a red flag, my friend observed, connecting the dots. Precisely. I agreed. And it's not just about looking for one specific tell. It's about recognizing clusters of behavior that point towards a particular emotion or intention. We dove into examples from the book. Happy feet. When someone's feet are bouncing or tapping, it often signals excitement and anticipation, even if their face remains neutral. Steepled hands, a gesture of confidence often seen in people who feel assured of their position. Ventral denial, turning away the most vulnerable part of our body, the torso, from something or someone we dislike or feel threatened by. Of course, we couldn't resist trying out our newfound knowledge on unsuspecting victims. I mean, friends and family. We analyzed their every gesture and posture, whispering interpretations like seasoned secret agents. It's not about becoming amateur lie detectors, I cautioned, echoing Navarro's warning. The book makes it clear that deception is incredibly complex and difficult to pinpoint. However, by understanding the limbic system's influence on our nonverbal communication, we can become more attuned to the whispers of our honest brains. We can learn to recognize signs of comfort and discomfort, notice when someone's words and body language are out of sync, and observe whether their gestures truly emphasize what they're saying. As we wrapped up our conversation, I realized that this exploration of nonverbal communication had opened up a whole new dimension in our understanding of ourselves and others. By paying attention to the subtle cues our bodies are constantly sending, we can deepen our connections, navigate social situations with more confidence, and uncover a layer of authenticity that often lies hidden beneath the surface of our words. Chapter 3, Honest Hands and Honest Feet. #The unadorned truth, hands and feet speak louder than words. You know how we were just talking about our honest brains and how they betray our true feelings through body language? I started, recalling our earlier conversation about Joe Navarro's insights into nonverbal communication from his book, What Every Body is Saying. My friend nodded, her eyes sparkling with the thrill of uncovering these hidden layers of communication. Well, Navarro has some really interesting things to say about hands and feet, I continued, flipping open the book to a dog-eared page. He basically says they're like the VIPs of honesty, the most reliable indicators of what someone is really thinking and feeling. My friend raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Okay, tell me more. Why hands and feet specifically? It all comes down to evolution, I explained. For millions of years, our feet have been our primary mode of transportation, responsible for helping us escape danger and navigate the world. Our hands, with their incredible dexterity, evolved to help us manipulate our environment, defend ourselves, and build things. Because they've played such critical roles in our survival, Navarro argues that our brains are hardwired to use them to express our most genuine reactions. So, while we might be able to control our facial expressions and words more easily, my friend interjected, our hands and feet are more likely to give us away. Exactly. I exclaimed. The limbic system, that part of our brain that governs our fight or flight response, also controls a lot of the involuntary movements in our hands and feet. So, when we're stressed, anxious, or trying to conceal something, those little tells start to leak out. We spent the next few minutes brainstorming examples, drawing on both Navarro's observations and our own experiences. Honest feet, unfiltered emotions. Happy feet equals genuine excitement. Remember that time you got the acceptance letter for that dream job? I asked my friend, picturing her feet doing a joyful dance under her desk. Navarro calls that happy feet, and he says it's a dead giveaway that someone's feeling positive and optimistic, even if they're trying to play it cool. Asterisk shifting feet equals a desire to escape. We both shuddered as we remembered awkward encounters where the person we were talking to kept shifting their feet away from us, a clear sign that they wanted out of the conversation. Asterisk frozen feet equals fear or anxiety. It's like when someone's caught in a lie and their feet suddenly become glued to the floor, I said, mimicking the immobilizing grip of fear. Navarro points out that this foot freeze is often triggered by the limbic system's response to a perceived threat. Honest hands, the mind's messengers. Asterisk steepled hands equals confidence in command. We both admitted to subtly steepling our hands whenever we felt particularly self-assured, unconsciously mimicking the powerful gesture often seen in CEOs, lawyers, and other high-status individuals. Navarro emphasizes the steepling of hands, especially with fingertips touching, as a strong indicator of confidence and self-belief. Asterisk hidden hands equals a reason to wonder. We recalled feeling instinctively wary of people who kept their hands hidden under the table or tucked in their pockets during conversations. Navarro explains that our brains are naturally drawn to hands because they can be both expressive and potentially dangerous, I said. So, when we can't see them, it triggers a subconscious sense of unease. Asterisk trembling hands equals stress on display. We both winced at the memory of our hands shaking uncontrollably during nerve-wracking presentations or job interviews. Navarro points out that even subtle trembling or quivering in the hands can be a telltale sign that someone's stressed or anxious, especially when it starts or stops abruptly in response to a particular topic or question, I explained. As we delved deeper into Navarro's observations, we realized that while hands and feet can provide valuable insights, they shouldn't be viewed in isolation. Just like any form of communication, context is crucial. It's like piecing together a puzzle, my friend mused. We need to consider the person's overall demeanor, the situation, and any other nonverbal cues they're giving off before jumping to conclusions. Navarro cautions against using body language as a foolproof lie detector, emphasizing that deception is incredibly complex and subtle. However, by understanding the role of our honest brains and paying attention to the often overlooked eloquence of our hands and feet, we can gain a deeper understanding of the unfiltered emotions and unspoken truths that shape our interactions with others. Chapter 4: How to Read Body Language. Deciphering the Silent Symphony, Cracking the Code of Body Language. Remember how we were totally captivated by those honest brains, the idea that our bodies are constantly spilling the beans on our true feelings, even when we try to keep a poker face? I asked my friend, my voice buzzing with excitement. We had been swapping stories about how Joe Navarro's book, What Every Body Is Saying, had opened our eyes to a whole new world of nonverbal communication, a world where subtle shifts in posture, fleeting glances, and even the way we hold our hands could reveal hidden truths about ourselves and others. It's like we've been given this secret decoder ring for human behavior, she replied, leaning in conspiratorially. But there's so much to learn. How do we actually go about reading body language in a way that's accurate and insightful? I pulled out the well-worn book, its pages filled with underlined passages and scribbled notes. Navarro lays out some pretty clear guidelines, call them commandments, for becoming a competent observer, I said, flipping to the relevant chapter. Commandment 1, be a keen observer, Sherlock style. Navarro emphasizes the need to be truly present in our interactions, actively observing the subtle cues that most people miss. He compares it to the difference between looking and seeing, I explained, quoting Sherlock Holmes' famous line, "You see, but you do not observe." It's not just about noticing the obvious, but paying attention to the nuances, the fleeting micro-expressions, the slight changes in posture or hand gestures that can reveal a person's true emotional state. Commandment 2, context is king. We both agreed that a furrowed brow could mean concentration during a challenging task or frustration during an argument. Navarro stresses the importance of interpreting body language within the context of the situation, I said. It's like understanding the setting of a story, it gives you a framework for interpreting the character's actions. Commandment 3, the universal language of emotion. Some nonverbal cues are like universal emojis, my friend chuckled. They mean the same thing across cultures. We talked about how a genuine smile, a furrowed brow, or the sudden widening of the eyes are all instinctive expressions of emotion that are easily recognizable. Commandment 4, Unveiling Idiosyncratic Tells. But it's not just about these universal signals, I added. Navarro encourages us to pay attention to individual quirks, those little idiosyncratic gestures that a person might repeat when they're feeling a certain way. He suggests establishing a baseline for each individual, getting to know their typical mannerisms so we can recognize when they deviate from that norm. Commandment 5, Spotting the Shifting Tides of Behavior. It's like noticing the subtle shifts in the wind before a storm, my friend observed, drawing a poetic parallel. Navarro points out that sudden changes in body language, a person becoming increasingly fidgety, withdrawing their hands, or shifting their feet away, can be valuable indicators of a shift in their emotional state. Commandment 6, Clusters of Clues, Not Isolated Incidents. We both agreed that one gesture in isolation could be misleading. Navarro emphasizes the need to look for clusters of behavior, multiple tells that all point towards the same conclusion, I explained. It's like gathering evidence, the more corroborating clues you have, the stronger your case. Commandment 7, Don't miss the subtle shifts. Sometimes the most telling cues are the most subtle, I said, remembering Navarro's advice to watch for fleeting microexpressions that can betray a person's true feelings even when they're trying to mask them. Commandment 8, False Signals, The Master of Disguise. Of course, we can't forget about those sneaky false signals, the fake smiles, the forced laughter, my friend chimed in, shaking her head. Navarro cautions us to be aware that some people are skilled at manipulating their body language to deceive, and that we should always consider the possibility of deliberate misdirection. Commandment 9, The Power of Congruence. It's all about consistency, I said, summarizing one of Navarro's key points. When someone's words, tone of voice, and body language are all in sync, it's a strong indicator of authenticity. However, when there's a mismatch, a forced smile accompanying a statement of anger, for example, it's a sign that something's not quite right. Commandment 10, Subtlety is key. And finally, I concluded, closing the book, Navarro reminds us to be discreet in our observations. We don't want to make people feel like they're under a microscope. The goal is to become a perceptive observer without being intrusive or judgmental. As our conversation drew to a close, I felt a sense of both excitement and empowerment. By understanding these basic principles of reading body language, we could navigate our interactions with greater awareness, empathy, and insight. The silent symphony of human behavior was no longer a mystery, it was a language waiting to be understood, a language that could unlock deeper connections and reveal the hidden truths that shape our relationships with others. Chapter 5, Conclusion. Shows like Criminal Minds and Law and Order, SVU have glamorized the role of the behavioral analyst. Because they display an almost superhuman ability to get inside the heads of their suspects, we are impressed by their skills and assume that they have some uncanny and remarkable gift. But the reality is that behavioral analysts have simply developed strong observational skills and a good understanding of nonverbal communication. In fact, anyone can cultivate those skills by simply following the tips outlined in this book. I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and please remember to subscribe to receive notification of upcoming recordings. See you in next video.